It's now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiuri. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show, it's being brought to you by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon.com. That's your best bet. Go to Amazon.com and search my name or Tom Molyneux, and it'll come right up. Get yourself a copy today. Speaking of today, we got a good show coming your way right now. We're going to be giving you my final thoughts. I'm going to be giving you my final thoughts on the big fight tomorrow between Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. I'm going to give you I'll tell you what. I like to wager money more than I should. And I got a three-fight heavyweight parlay for you that's going to win you some money, let me tell you. But first, let's start off with some boxing news. I got some results, too, from a great card that I was ringside for at the Turning Stone Casino last Saturday, man. I had some great stuff, some young fighters that I got to see that I totally recommend that you keep an eye on. Really good fighters. So first and foremost, the big news that just came out just before I went on air is the fact that Mike Tyson is fighting at 58 years old against Jake Paul. It's official. As far as I know that they're waiting to make sure that the commission okays it. It's going to be taking place at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. I don't think they'll have a problem with it. I know that they're trying to determine if it's going to be an exhibition fight or if it's going to be a real fight. Look, if it's an exhibition fight, first of all, let me just say this. First of all right, I love Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, the guy can do no wrong, right? Even when he does wrong, he doesn't do wrong. But in my opinion, the thing is this: if it's an exhibition, I got my man Eric in the chat room, right? Exhibition or legit. If it's an exhibition, which I think it's going to end up being, right? But then again, I mean, they're throwing all kinds of money around. Jake Paul's, give him credit. He's got some coin, right? But if it's an exhibition, it's going to suck. And I'll tell you, it's like when Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr. in the exhibition. Mike Tyson must have promised he wasn't going to punch him in his face. And he worked Roy Jones's body in that fight, and for that to be a draw at the end was just a typical exhibition. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, by having somebody win or lose, right? Jake Paul's been talking a lot of smack about Tyson, saying he's an old man and blah blah blah. Jake Paul hasn't. I mean, his last fight. He stopped his opponent in the first round. That was actually the first legitimate boxer he fought. Whatever. I don't want to knock the guy because he's such a moneymaker, but I don't look at him as a true fighter. I'm sorry, I don't. And if Mike Tyson fights a real fight, he's gonna at 58 years old, he's gonna destroy this kid. Even as an exhibition, Jake Paul's gonna know he's in a fight. We're gonna talk more about that as time goes on. But the one thing I do know about it is that it will be on Netflix, and it's not going to be a pay-per-view like DAZN is pulling for us tomorrow. It's going to be, if you have Netflix, you're going to be getting it, part of your service. Eric's asking if they can get it sanctioned. it's going to be up to Texas, Eric. That was the last thing I had heard, that they're going to evaluate it. Now, if there's ever a commission that would let it go, aside from some of the commissions I promoted some fights in, I should say, Texas might let it happen. They'll require some medicals, and it appears that Mike Tyson is fit physically. So I don't know. I hope, I kind of hope it is a legit fight. I kind of hope it is. But I can't believe, my man Juan just popped in the chat room, and I think he and I were talking about it through social media. This has become, if this isn't another example of how professional boxing hasn't become more like the WWE. I don't know what else is. My man, Coach, hopefully he'll be popping in a little bit. He has said that time and time again. But let me just remind everybody. Listen, if you're not subscribed to this channel, the YouTube channel, subscribe now. We also have Rumble. So if you had a chance, I'm trying to put some other stuff up on there. So subscribe to that, and of course our podcast. We now can offer the podcast right through YouTube. So check that out. And if you have Roku or Amazon TV or Android TV, and there's a bunch other, we're on a channel called Jinko TV. And what I have put up there, it's 24/7 programming. So there's some shows, new ones, old ones, all of that. But what I have put up there is a lot of events that we've done over the years. So you won't want to miss that. But anyway, some stuff real quick. I was at the fights at the Turning Stone Casino this past Saturday. What a great card it was. It was on ESPN Plus. It was a top-ranked card. There were 9 bouts on this card, and every single one of them was pretty competitive. So the main event for the WBA featherweight title, Raymond Ford improved to 15-0 with a draw, and 8 of his wins coming by knockout when he scored a dramatic 12th round stoppage over Otabek Kalamatov, who lost for the first time in his fight. He drops to in his career, he drops to 12-1 with 11 KOs. They claim the vacant title. This was a great fight. Every single round was close. Ford rocked Kalamatov with 7 seconds left in the fight, and referee Charlie Fitch waved it off. He was hurt in a round before, too. And they also had an accidental head clash and in the previous round, and there was blood everywhere. Some people were being critical of Charlie Fitch on this. I am not. Kalamatov was in serious trouble. I mean, you could see it. He was. I know there was only 7 seconds left, but he wasn't getting up if Charlie didn't wave it off. So it was a good stoppage, and Ford won. Here's the thing that got me a little confused. I had Ford up going into that 12th round, 105-104. That was my scorecard. Okay. One of the judges at ringside had it the same, 105-104 in favor of Ford. But the other two had Kalamatov up 106-103. I kind of thought that was a little strange, to be honest with you. Listen, all the 2 referees and all of the judges that were there that night were all good ones. So I'm not going to, I'm not knocking. I'm not saying they were wrong or anything, from my seat. And that was one thing that ESPN did years ago. They showed us the view from all 3 judges' position around the ring and showed us the same punch and how it looked to those 3 judges. So you can see where it can vary a little bit. But from my seat, I had Ford up going into that last round. Great fight. The co-main event, the featherweight champ, the IBF featherweight champ, Luis Alberto Lopez improved to 30 wins, 2 losses, 17 of his wins coming by knockout when he successfully defended his world title against Rhea Abe, who drops the fourth fight of his career. He's now 25-4-1 via eighth round stoppage. Listen, Lopez was a beast. It was 39 seconds of the eighth round. Lopez was a beast that night. It was like, he wanted to, it looked like he was just seek and destroy all night long. The thing about this fight, and to be honest with you, I thought Abe was going to win this fight going into it. The thing is that right after the first round, Abe got a really bad swelling in his eye. And they were looking at that every single round. And, I don't know how this kid could even see. And it was evident that every time Lopez threw the punch to that side, it was landing. Personally, I think they should have waved that fight off a lot sooner than they did. But congrats to Lopez. Like I said, there was 9 fights on this card. Now, I'm going to go over a couple of these fights real quick. Nico Ali Walsh, okay? Now, this is Muhammad Ali's grandson or something like that. Nico Ali Walsh, that's him in the dreads, right? He won a unanimous decision over a very tough Charles Stanford in the middleweight division to improve to 10-1 with 5 knockouts. His mother was there and several other members of his family. And so was Flavor Flav, who kind of stole the show over there. This guy's quite the character. Stanford dropped to 7-6. I'd keep an eye on Nico Ali Walsh. To me, he demonstrated some decent hand speed. He had some good footwork. He appeared to be in good shape. Defensively, he needs to work on that. He took a little too many punches. And Charles Stanford was a game fighter. He was a last-minute sub, from what I understand. In one of the best fights of the night, this guy, I mean, I fell in love with this guy. As a matter of fact, I know his one of his team members. His name, Rohan Polanco. All right. Here's a shot of him here. He improved to 12-0 with 7 knockouts. He won a unanimous decision over previously unbeaten Tariq Zaina. Polanco's a kid to watch. He's got tons of promise, and he's a guy that I really love. I can't say anything negative about this guy. He appeared to demonstrate to me at least all the skills that I look for in fighters. So young fighters coming up. Good. It was a real good guy. Keep an eye on him for sure. I think that he's definitely worth that. And also some other fights on the card that I'll just mention really quick. Local prospect Bryce Mills, he improved to 15-1, 5 knockouts when he won a 6-round decision over Gefred Nagayat in their junior welterweight fight. Mills was way bigger and bullied his way through the win. However, Nagayat, who fights out of Buffalo, in my opinion, was the more talented fighter. I talked to his team after the fight. He normally fights at 135. They felt very comfortable taking this fight. If he weighed 139 pounds fight night, somebody stepped on the scale, and Mills had to be over 160. Nagayat drops to 6-2. He's the one out of the two that I would keep an eye on. Floyd Diaz improved to 11-0 with 3 knockouts in his unanimous decision over Edwin Rodriguez. Troy Isley stopped Marcos Hernandez in the 7th round to improve to 12-0 with 5 knockouts. There was a welterweight fight that was deemed a no decision. Jansen Brochaya against Brian Norman Jr. Here's what happened. There was an unintentional, there was an unintentional headbutt, okay? Opened up a really bad cut over Brochaya, okay? And he was up. He got a knockdown in the first round. He was up on the cards, okay, after the 3rd round. He was up. He had a 10-8 round in the first round. On my scorecard, he won the second. Even if somebody else scored that he lost the second, he clearly won the third. And then his corner, they stopped the fight to look at the cut, right? And then his corner threw the towel at the doctor. And the doctor throws it back at them. It was like the corner was begging them to stop the fight. But the truth of the matter is all they had to do was start the fourth round, and it would have went to the scorecards, and the kid would have won. His own corner lost him that fight. It was a shame because he was the smaller guy, and Brian Norman was the house fighter, was top ranks fighter, and he didn't want any. After he was dropped, he didn't want any part of this kid. The only fight that made me sick to my stomach was a heavyweight bout. And I'm going to tell you, this guy, Brandon Moore, he improved to 14-0 when he fought Helaman Algonquin in their heavyweight fight. 8-round unanimous decision. Listen, Moore is 6'6", 242 pounds. He's a bum. I tell you what, I hope I never see him again. He was the only fighter on this card. If you ever see him, if you ever hear the name Brandon Moore, and he's not fighting a slug, he's not going to win. This guy displayed zero talent and zero capability. It was terrible. DAZN, Barrow defeats Eggington to improve to 15-1. Eggington drops to 34-9. One other thing I want to make a comment on, Kauznacki. Remember him, the heavyweight? He lost for the fifth time in a row. He was fighting in Poland, got knocked out at 45 seconds in the first round by a prospect, Caper Mena. He's 34 years old now, lost his last 5. He's 20-5. I would say Kauznacki is done. All right. Some quick news, and I'm going to get right into the fight that I'm looking forward to. Somebody said, I'm not even going to buy that fight, and well, you know what? I kind of like the fight, but Edgar Berlanga, he claims that he's the front runner for Canelo on May 4th. Berlanga said, and I quote, "We're still in the Canelo sweepstakes. We're now the front runners for the fight in May. We're still cooking up for this fight to make it happen. His team wants us. They want to fight me. Canelo's the boss. He is his own boss. He's a free agent. He's the man at 168. He does what he wants. For 100% fact, I know he wants to fight us in May. Not to take any credit away from Mugaya because he's a star himself, but me and Canelo fighting is a much bigger fight. I'm a star, and I have Puerto Rico behind me. That's major for boxing. I'm the hottest thing right now and at 168. I'm coming off a huge knockout victory. I don't have a title, but I have more popularity and fame than Mugaya, and that brings tons of money. It's going to be a firefight. I'm ready to go out on my shield and put everything on the line. I'm not in there for just a paycheck. We got a lot to lose. I have a winner's mentality." My thoughts? I agree that Canelo would much rather fight Berlanga, but not because it's a bigger fight, because Mugaya is a bigger fight. I think Crawford's the biggest fight for Canelo, but I know that he's afraid of fighting Crawford, to be honest with you, because if he loses, a lot of people are going to just, shake their head. Mugaya is way more dangerous than Berlanga, and so is David Benavidez. David Benavidez already signed at 175. I like the move with Benavidez, just proving that he could be a star on his own. Mugaya is the fight that Canelo should take right now if he claims that he wants to fight the best. The truth of the matter is now rumor has it that Canelo and the PBC kissed and made up, and they're trying to get the Mugaya fight, set up. I don't know. Berlanga would be a better move for the PBC. I think he's under the PBC, and I think so is Benavidez. Mugaya, from what I understood, was under Golden Boy. So I don't know. I think Canelo takes the easiest way out, and that is Berlanga, in my opinion. A great card was announced for May 6th at the Tokyo Dome. And the monster, Naoya Inoue, is going to be taking on Louis Neary. And there's a slew of other fights on that. May 6th at the Tokyo Dome. There's a couple of fights this week on ESPN Plus tonight from Montreal, Canada. Casino de Montreal. Stephen Butler is taking on Steve Rolls for some title that's on that. And then Friday, some flyweight contenders, Villar and Harry Noriega are fighting from Nicaragua. You see, this is what I like about DAZN and ESPN Plus, because they show us the big fights and the small fights. And speaking of which, here's another one that's going to be on ESPN's platform. You got undefeated heavyweight Jared, the real big baby, Anderson is taking on Rihad Murhi on Saturday, April 13th. I kind of like that card. And March 28th, another example of why I like DAZN. March 28th, a club show by Salida Promotions out of Detroit will be broadcast on that one too. Not that there's any big names on that card or whatever. All right, let's talk about the big fight that's coming up tomorrow night. We're talking about Anthony Joshua against Francis Ngannou. So apparently it is a lot more on the line. Tyson Fury claimed that there's already a deal in place for he and or I should say the winner of the two fights that are already signed, sealed, and delivered between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. They have a 2-fight series signed, and the winner of those will fight the winner of the Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou fight tomorrow. Okay. And obviously Tyson Fury thinks that it's going to be him. Personally, even if Usyk beats Fury, I believe that the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight will still happen, because it could be one of the biggest fights ever on English soil. But Fury said there's a lot on the line. But more interesting than that, if you recall, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, they've been at each other's throats for the last couple of years, actually. But according to Bob Arum, he said that it seems like both of these fighters have been extremely cordial to each other, including John Fury, Tyson Fury's pops, and his other son, Roman's on this card tomorrow. John Fury said, "I've always liked AJ. He said he's done a lot for boxing. He'll be a champion again. He has shown me respect. If Joshua boxes and uses what he's got, he's going to win on points." Tyson, this is John Fury saying that Tyson Fury said Ngannou can really bang. In the UFC, he's been elbowed in the head, kicked in the face. He's a tough guy. The experience advantages with AJ. When they asked Anthony Joshua if he would fight Fury, Anthony Joshua said, "Well, that's the golden question. I'd say sooner rather than later. It's already in the pipeline. It's been bubbling for a long time. This fight has to happen." And that's my point. I do believe that that fight will happen either way, whether it happens right after the first Usyk Fury fight or whether it happens later on. We will go. Jason's correcting me here. Berlanga's Matchroom. That's right. He's right there. And Benavidez is PBC. So it would make more sense then if they did patch up their differences, Canelo and the PBC, that they would try to get Benavidez in there with him. If they try to make the Charlo fight, that's gonna I won't even watch that fight, honestly. And Eric is with me. I love DAZN. I love it. I love the fact that you can watch big or small fights, even though you're gonna have to shell out some money tomorrow. And I know Jason doesn't like that. But Bob Arum said, "I'm pleased to see the chumminess." Is that a word? Chumminess between Joshua and Fury camp. How we all fully embrace the events that would bring both men to the same ring with Saudi Arabia. This is what I like about Bob Arum. He's starting to, remember, he was the guy that says, "I was lying yesterday, but I'm telling the truth today." Well, now he's telling it like it is, because he says, it would be great to bring both men in the same ring with Saudi Arabia's financial backing. We're not paying the bills. The kingdom pays the bills. It's what it's all about, what's most tantalizing to them. Whatever they like, we're happy to accommodate them. I think I made a post. I think I did a social media post about that. This is why all of a sudden these promoters are deciding to play nice with each other, because the Saudis are opening up their checkbook. When you look at a check and there's a couple of extra zeros at the end of it, you're saying to yourself, yeah, okay, what feud, So anyway, they added a really interesting heavyweight fight on the undercard for tomorrow's AJ Ngannou fight. I really like it. I'm looking forward to this. Justice Hunai against Kevin Lerena is on the card. Now, Hunai is the favorite in this fight. He's 8-0 with 4 knockouts, 6'4", 24-year-old. The computer has him ranked at number 25. And the 3 of the 4 major sanctioning bodies have him ranked in the top 15. The WBA has him ranked at number 14, IBF at number 15, WBO at number 12. Now he steps in the ring with Kevin Lerena, who's 30-2 with 14 knockouts. He's 6'1", southpaw with 31 years old. The computer ranks him at number 11, and so does the WBO. I'm going to talk about this fight in a little bit. Some other notes I want to mention real quick. Mike Tyson. No, we already talked about the Tyson versus Jake Paul, but Mike Tyson, it was reported, wasn't as hands-on with Ngannou for the AJ fight. One of the reasons is that he's working at his training. He's got a training facility now, Mike Tyson. So Ngannou was training in Saudi Arabia, and they're just not much. Now, how this is going to play out, I don't know, but we will see. I agree with Eric. I too am pumped for this card. There's a lot of, he's saying, fun fights. I agree. He says he's calling in from sick. He's calling in to work sick. Muck says Francis has a chin. I know that too. He has never been down ever. And I was educated from that from my son-in-law, Lewis. But here's the thing. I'm going to get to the fight. Let's talk about, I'm going to break down, what fights am I breaking down here? I'm going to break down the 2 main fights. All right. The 2 main fights I'm breaking down. Am I doing the other one too? No. All right. Zhilei Zhang. He's taken on Joseph Parker. Now, Zhang, his record, 26 wins, 21 coming by knockout. He's got 1 loss, and that came at the hands of Filip Hrgovic back in 2022, August 20th to be exact. He's currently the WBO interim world champion. He's 40 years old. That's 8 years older than Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker seems to have been around forever, right? But he's also at southpaw, 6'6". He's got 2-inch height advantage over Joseph Parker. The computer ranks him at number 7. No other sanctioning body has him ranked because he owns that distinguished title of interim champion. So look, he last 2 fights, he weighed 287 and a quarter pounds and 278. Those were the 2 fights that, honestly, in my opinion, were his only 2 really good fights against good opposition, and that was Joe Joyce. In April of 2023, he stopped Joe Joyce in the 6th round, and then he fought him again in September of the same year, stopped him in the 3rd. His only other notable win, in my opinion, was a 4th round stoppage over Devin Vargas, who was no killer in his own right, back in 2020. When you look through this guy's record, he really doesn't have any signature wins. As far as his style, I think he's extremely slow. He's got a really good chin, and he's got pop. You can't take that away from him. You know, when he's got almost an 81% knockout ratio, the guy's got pop. But he's 6'6" and he weighs 280 pounds, 280 plus. I don't know. I didn't catch the weigh in today, but plus he's 40. He steps in the ring with Joseph Parker. All right. Now, Joseph Parker, he's a former WBO World Heavyweight Champion. Record 34 wins, 3 losses, 1 by stoppage, and that came to the hands of Joe Joyce. He's got 23 knockouts. His other 2 losses came to at the hands of Anthony Joshua and Dillian White. Now, he's ranked number 3 by the computer, number 3 by the WBC, number 3 by the WBA, and number 2 by the WBO. The IBF doesn't have him ranked, which is I can't stand that crap when you see these sanctioning bodies that have an upper slot that they don't have a rating for. In IBF's case, the number 2 slot is not rated. I mean, how do you rate a guy number 1 and then number 3, 4, 5, and you don't have a guy at number 2? I mean, logically, in my opinion, the number 3 guy moves up to the number 2 spot, right? I mean, come on. Goes to show you about the way things are done sometimes in boxing. Joseph Parker, 32 years old, 8 years younger. 8 years younger. 6'4" orthodox fighter. He's given up 2 inches on that. In his fight over Wilder, which I think was the best win of his career, even though I've always said that Wilder was a one-trick phony. I mean, pony. He just had the pop, no footwork, nothing else. But I thought Joseph Parker looked the best that he ever did in that fight. And he weighed 245.25 pounds in that win. That was back in December of last year, so it wasn't that long ago. He's got 2 wins over Derek Chisora, which I liked. And he's got some decent wins. He did win his fight. It was a close fight against Andy Ruiz. He's got a win against Alexander Dimitrenko. Those were 2 big wins, in my opinion. But I tell you, in his last fight, and he's working with Andy Lee now, if I recall correctly, he looked good. And I think that his boxing ability and his footwork, he wins this fight. I'm picking Joseph Parker to win this fight via a decision. Now, for the main event of the evening, Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, former world champion. I mean, he's WBA, WBO, IBF, IBO champion. Lost that title to Andy Ruiz, regained it, and then lost it to Usyk, and then lost the rematch in a much closer fight. He's 27-3. I just gave you the 3 losses that he got. He was stopped the one time against Andy Ruiz. And 27 wins, 24 of them coming by knockout. He's 34 years old, 3 years younger than Ngannou. He's 6'6", 2 inches taller, and obviously has more rounds under his belt with 30 professional fights. The computer has him at number 2, WBC at number 1, WBA at number 2, IBF at number 3. And again, why isn't he at number 2? There's nobody in that slot, right? And WBO has him at number 1. Now, when I look at Anthony Joshua, I was always a big fan of Anthony Joshua. And anybody that's watched this show knows that. But look at this record. Aside from the 3 losses, which, contrary to what some fighters believe and some fans believe, does not make you a bad fighter. The Andy Ruiz fight, he came in out of shape, and he took the fight lightly. I mean, it's easy to take Andy Ruiz lightly when you saw him, at least the way he looked when he fought the first fight against Anthony Joshua. He looks real good now, and Andy Ruiz, and you can see why nobody wants a piece of him. He's extremely quick-handed fighter like Andy Ruiz. But when you look at Anthony Joshua and you look back at his resume, I mean, he stops Otto Wallen in his last fight. He stopped Robert Helenas. He stopped Kubrat Pulev, which was, a highly rated contender. He stopped Alexander Povetkin. He won a unanimous decision over Parker. These are all his big fights. And, he's also got a stoppage win over Charles Martin and a stoppage win over the tough Dillian White. I think his signature win was his stoppage win over Vladimir Klitschko. To me, that was the changing of the guard. And I thought that Klitschko's head was going to end up in the third row. That uppercut, I'll never forget. Now he steps in the ring with Francis Ngannou. The computer ranks him at number 33. The WBC has him at number 10. He's not rated in any other sanctioning body. And quite honestly, I don't think he should be. He fought one professional boxing match, and it was against Tyson Fury, who took him lightly, and he dropped Fury and went the distance, and everybody's lauding him a great boxer. It's his only pro fight. He's 37 years old, 6'4". So he's given up a couple of inches. Look, we don't know much about him as a boxer except what we saw against Tyson Fury. But I do know this. He's got a granite chin, and he's going to try to get inside. And he's got power. And let's face it, Anthony Joshua has a suspect chin. Francis Ngannou could get in close, a la Mike Tyson, and land a shot on Anthony Joshua and end the night. That's what they're banking on, okay? From what I understand, at an Ngannou camp, he's been working real hard at his footwork. He's trying to use the jab. His conditioning is good. And it's going to boil down to assets. The way I see this fight going, and I know Eric is, going to probably not be happy with me on this because he's looking forward to this fight so much. But I love the fight. I love the card. We would all like to see a knockout. And if we do see a knockout, it's going to be Ngannou knocking out Anthony Joshua. But how do I see this fight going? I see this fight going very Vladimir Klitschko-esque. I think Anthony Joshua is going to utilize his boxing ability, his footwork. You're going to see him jab. You're going to see him move. You're going to see him win a unanimous decision in what a lot of people are going to call a boring fight. That's the way he needs to fight Ngannou. Now Anthony Joshua is a good finisher. If he does hurt Ngannou, which, that's a big if. But if he does, he could finish him off. But I wouldn't be surprised if even he did seemingly hurt Ngannou, because Ngannou could pull an old possum deal and act hurt and try to draw Anthony Joshua in and land a lucky counterpunch that will put AJ to sleep. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Anthony Joshua is going to be disciplined tomorrow, and I think he's going to win a decision that many people are going to think are boring. I love this card. You got the lighter weight championship. I love the heavyweight fights on this. I'm looking forward to the Parker fight. I'm looking forward to the Kevin Lerena and Justice Hunai fight too. Here's the thing. The odds, last time I checked, which was yesterday morning, so they may have changed, but the way it was set yesterday was that Anthony Joshua is a favorite. You lay in $450. He's minus 450 to win 100. And Ngannou's plus 320. See, that's what I hate about boxing's odds these days. It's totally in the bookie's favor. If you lay in 450 to win 100, you should be able to win 450 if you go the other way, right? But no, they have that little in between. They call it the juice, right? And Ngannou's plus 320. The other heavyweight fight, Zhilei Zhang. This surprises me. He's minus 250 against Joseph Parker, who's plus 200. And that other heavyweight fight, Justice Hunai, is minus 450 against Kevin Lerena, who's plus 320. And the WBC featherweight fight, between Ray Vargas and Nick Ball. Vegas is an underdog, plus 150. Nick Ball is minus 175. Here's my recommended 3-fight parlay if you like to wager a few bucks, okay? The Ray Vargas Nick Ball fight, I wouldn't bet on. Personally, I don't see how Nick Ball can win that fight. I know he's good. I'm not knocking Nick Ball, but Ray Vargas is a tough fighter. But he's also been in he's got more mileage on him. So that's a who do you like fight, and you bet it separate. But my 3-fight parlay is all heavyweights, okay? And if you bet this, you're gonna, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna win. You're gonna make out pretty well. I would lay the money for AJ over Ngannou by a decision. AJ over Ngannou by a decision. Parker, I'd take the dog in this one. Parker over Zhang via a decision. And the third fight I'm picking is I think that Kevin Lerena is going to stop Justice Hunai. He's got a lot more pop. He's been in some tough fights. Now, the thing is Lerena has lost fights by knockout. He's been stopped. But Hunai doesn't display that he's got that much. He's only got 50% knockout ratio. I think he's 8-0 with 4 knockouts. So, and he hasn't fought anybody. So I think the two dogs. So that's what I would do. I would take AJ over Ngannou, Parker over Zhang, and Kevin Lerena over Hunai. And if you really want to get fancy, AJ via decision, Parker via decision, Lerena via stoppage. We'll see how I make out there. Some comments. Juan says Joshua's going down. Eric says Zhang's going to stop Parker. And he says Joshua's going to stop Ngannou. Eric made a comment about Andy Ruiz is active by PBC standards. That's right. He's a PBC fighter. But if you remember, he didn't fight. He fought under other promoters. When he fought AJ, all his fights have been, thank God, another promoter did it. PBC didn't. You know. Let's see. AJ's Amok says, I think that AJ's chin will withstand Francis' power throughout the 12 rank, or it will deteriorate. Eric adds speed and body work will be what AJ uses to stop him. I don't think he's going to get in that close because that's risky for him, Eric. And Jason, I think I agree with Jason. I finally agree with Jason. I agree with Jason that I can't see Joshua losing either. I agree with you, Jay. So I appreciate those comments. Now, speaking of which, last week I talked about, by the way, make sure you tune in right after the fight tomorrow. Make sure you tune in right here, wherever you're watching or listening to this show. I'm going to be doing a post-fight. So we go on usually about 6 minutes after the official decision is rendered. I don't, listen to all the hype in the ring. I will be right here. And we want you guys to run the show. So, it's going to be totally discussing what's going on in the chat room. And if you email me, if you're one of these regular people that have been in the chat room, if you email me between today and tomorrow, and email bill@billycboxing.com, I'll even send you a link. I know Eric. I'll send Eric a link. And you can come on. I'll have you on the screen too. All right. But last week we asked you to give us your meanest fighters, your 10 meanest fighters. And I had a lot of people that were, texting me, doing it on social media, did some in the chat room here, but I wanted it emailed so I could read it. And the only guy that passed the homework exam was my man, Coach. And Coach says the list of the meanest fighters in no particular order, he had Sonny Liston, Jack Dempsey, Harry Greb, Fritzy Zivic. Yeah. Yeah, he says, you got to be mean if you're that dirty. That's true. Stanley Ketchel, Roberto Duran, Ron Lyle. Ron Lyle, I knew him personally, and it was sad to see him go. I think I posted an interview we did with him. I remember seeing him when he first walked out. I was watching a fight on TV, and when I think it might have been, I'm almost sure he fought Ali or Ernie Shavers, one of the two. And when he came out, just the way he was built. I mean, he was like an Adonis. He was like he was just built like he was scary looking. Edwin Valerio, Ike Iabuchi, what a wasted talent that was, huh? If you guys know Ike Iabuchi, this guy was heading towards greatness. He finally got out of jail, and he was supposedly making a comeback, but I don't think he's Here's one. I should have, you know what? This guy should have been on my list, Coach. You're right. Elmer Ray. You know what his nickname was? Violent. This guy was violent. And, I wanted to do a book on him. I actually wanted to write a book on Elmer Ray. And his family reached out to me. And, he lived the rest of his life very low key, and he was one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet outside the ring. He worked for like a school system and stuff for years, and he was a great guy. And his last guy here on his list is the Black Terror, Bill Richmond. I got a negative spot for Bill Richmond only because of my book, Tom Molyneux. Bill Richmond was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to lead Tom Molyneux down a positive path. And instead, even back then in the early 1800s, Bill Richmond just saw Tom Molyneux as a cash cow, and the rest was history. But anyway, listen, I appreciate everybody stopping by and watching the show. I want to give a special thanks to everybody in the chat room that was commenting on the show as we went live. I know we were simultaneously on Facebook as well, so I appreciate that. We've been trying to stream on Rumble, but their streaming thing isn't working right. So appreciate it all. Remember, subscribe to our pages. I'd appreciate it. The likes, all that stuff. Reach out to me. Send me emails. Bill@BillyCBoxing.com or Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Make sure you tune in to our post-fight tomorrow. As soon as the fights are over, I will go live and talk about the fight and get your thoughts as well. So until tomorrow, ciao, baby.